After his career-changing performance in Airplane, Leslie Nielsen teamed up with Jerry Zucker, Jim Abrams, and David Zucker again for the ABC parody TV show Police Squad in 1982. After only 6 episodes, the show was canceled despite being nominated for 2 Emmy Awards. 6 years later, the show found new life and pronounced success as a comedy movie franchise, beginning with this 80s flick. So turn on the police siren, meet us at the Angels baseball stadium, and be sure to pass the hot dog to the Queen as Ben Carpenter, Chris McMichen, Nicholas Pepin, and I discuss The Naked Gun from 1988 on this episode of the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. It was a Tuesday. I was working the podcast beat. The air smelled like cheap microphones and stale coffee. I needed to crack the case of the 1988 classic The Naked Gun, but I couldn't do it alone. I needed a squad. I rounded up the usual suspects. First, a man who sings the national anthem better than Enrico Palazzo. It's Ben Carpenter. How you doing, Ben?
Oh, I don't know about that. Maybe, well, it's a low bar. So yeah, maybe a little bit better than Enrico Palazzo. I'm doing great. I'm glad to be back.
Yes, glad to have you back. Next, a man who is ready to tackle Reggie Jackson to save the Queen of England. It's Chris McMichen. How you doing, Chris?
Doing great, Tim. Always glad to be here with you guys, chat about some 80s flicks.
Yeah, let's do it. And finally, returning to the precinct, a man who drives like he's in a student driver car with no brakes. It's Nicholas Pepin. How you doing, Nicholas?
Hey, nice beaver.
Thanks. I just added stuffed. I knew that was going to come out at some point. I tried not to work it into the intro in any way, shape, or form because I knew it was going to be there. But yes, welcome to the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. I am your host, Tim Williams, and excited to talk about another funny movie, as I mentioned in our last episode where Nicholas and I discussed Airplane. After the year of 2025, I wanted to start off the new year with some comedies. So it's our Just for Laughs January. We did Airplane last episode. We're continuing the insanity with The Naked Gun, Files from Police Squad, and in a couple weeks we'll tackle Police Academy. So glad to have these great co-hosts. Glad to have Ben back after a little hiatus. Glad to have him back. Good to have Chris and Nicholas back as well. So let's jump right in, fellas. I'll start with you, Ben. When did you see The Naked Gun for the very first time?
Oh,
theater, video?
Yeah, definitely in theaters. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of this style of comedy in the 80s. And yeah, I was probably there opening night.
What about you, Chris?
Actually did not see this one in the theater. I remember renting it at a Blockbuster video, as many of us probably remember good old Blockbuster. And I'll say for sure that after I rented it once, it was on my high list rentals immediately after. I rented it several times after that time.
Awesome. What about you, Nicholas?
I definitely didn't see it in the theaters, but I do remember watching it pretty soon after it came out on rental. Probably over at a friend's house, maybe on HBO, but it was definitely, a rental.
Yeah, I did see this one in theaters. I went with a friend of mine, Derek Deal. Shout out to Derek if he's listening. When we were living in Maryland, and it was one that he definitely wanted to see. I mean, I wanted to see it too, as Nicholas and I talked about. Saw Airplane and Airplane 2, the sequel, repeatedly on HBO as a kid, so I was very much familiar with this style of comedy. And was looking forward to it. And man, we laughed so much watching this movie. And then when it came out on video, I know we rented it the following summer and probably watched it at least once a week, like that next summer. So yeah, excited to cover this one. How long has it been since you rewatched it before rewatching it for the podcast? We'll go the other way this time. So start with Nicholas. How long has it been, Nicholas?
In the last year or two, I did a parody movie bracket over on Pop
Oh.
Culture Roulette,
Yep,
and this
as you do.
one,
Yep.
this one, Naked Gun finished really high. If it didn't win it, I can't remember exactly who won it, but
Mm.
I decided to rewatch it for that. I was like, wow, man, this. You don't. I mean, I've seen it many times, but it was one of those like watching again for the first time in a while. Man,
Mhm.
this is so good, so good.
Yeah. What about you, Chris?
Yes, it wasn't long ago for me, within the last year, because when all the hype started coming out and I saw the trailer for the new Leslie Nielsen version, and I was really excited about, a new Naked Gun on the forefront coming back to theaters. And I thought, well, you know what? I'll get a chance to, while I'm waiting on that one to come out, I'll go back and check out the original. And so I did. I found it on Paramount Plus and gave it a look within the last year.
Gotcha. I think you meant the Liam Neeson. You said the
Liam
Leslie
Neeson.
Nielsen.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Liam Neeson. Sorry.
Didn't
It's
want to
late,
confuse
man.
anybody out there.
For me.
So, right. What about you, Ben?
It had been a while, probably, most when you ask me that question when I'm on, it's usually the last time I watched it with some of my kids. And I
Right.
think I showed this to my kids, maybe 8 to 10 years ago, watched it then. But I did watch Police Squad, all 6 episodes recently.
Okay.
But no, we didn't watch the movie. We did go see the new Liam Neeson movie, though.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll talk about it towards the end. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I watched it probably about 6 or 7. No, yeah, probably like 5 or 6 years ago. I was actually in Jacksonville visiting Ron, who was on the podcast a couple of years ago. And I was working. I worked from home, and it was during the day. We were doing something that night, and I was working in his living room and was like going through the different streaming channels, and I think it was on like either Pluto TV or one of the streamers, one of those channels that have like with the commercials. Like, man, I haven't watched Naked Gun in a long time, and so I watched it and just remembered how funny it was. It had been a long time since I'd seen it before then. I own the 3-pack Blu-ray now, so that was how I watched it for this one. But yeah, so it's been a minute. So, but a good rewatch, and of course we'll talk about how much we will rewatch it again towards the end. So, all right. So as we did in the last episode, we got a new little feature before we jump into story origin and pre-production. Do a little different this week. Last week was just Nicholas playing the game, but we're going to do a little how did it get made trivia games. The guys did not know, maybe Nicholas knew, but Ben and Chris were not aware of this. So, but I'm gonna let them work as a team. They can discuss their answer, but it's true or false. So it's not, shouldn't be too tough. But these are a few facts about how the movie got made. Let's see how much you know already before we jump into it. So, number 1, true or false? The studio forced the creators to change the movie's title to avoid confusion with the Police Academy franchise.
Sounds plausible to me.
Does sound plausible, but it also sounds like he's trying to trick us. So
Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. What do you think, Chris?
I don't know. It has that Police Squad stuff from the original series in there, so I don't know.
I'm gonna. If I had to guess, if I was doing this one by myself, I would say false.
I need a
I would say
consensus here.
true. I would say true.
All right, Chris, you got to be the tiebreaker here.
All right, I guess I would say false.
Ben was right. It is true. The creators originally wanted to title it Police Squad, like the TV show was based on, but Paramount Pictures felt the name was too similar to the Police Academy movies, which had already released 5 installments by 1988. They were forced to brainstorm a new title. The Naked Gun was chosen from a list of 20 options because, as David Zucker said, it promised so much more than it could ever possibly deliver. So, which is like, why did they name it the Naked Gun? So, yeah. All right. Not start off great, but we'll see. You can rally. Here we go. Number 2. The climactic baseball game involving the California Angels was filmed at their real home, Anaheim Stadium. True or false?
As a diehard Angels fan, that one is true.
We'll defer to Nicholas because I have no idea.
Yeah, we'll go with him. He sounds pretty confident.
Sorry, Nicholas. This one was false. Even though the scene is set at Angels' home game, it was actually filmed at Dodger Stadium, the home of their rivals. Sharp-eyed baseball fans can spot the difference in the stadium architecture during the sequence.
Oh, man. I'm not doing so well this week.
Nick is like, I'm canceling all my future guest spots for future episodes now. All right, number 3. You still got time to rally. Still can do 3 out of 5. True or false? Priscilla Presley was cast as Jane Spencer specifically because she had extensive background in sketch comedy.
I'm not aware of her having any background in sketch comedy, but
so you're leaning into false.
I'm
I
leaning
think
to false, but
I'm
would
going with.
Let's say that would shock me if it were true. So I'll go with false as well.
I'm gonna go with Ben and Chris on this one as well.
You got one right. It is false. Yes, they cast her the exact opposite reason. She had never done comedy. Presley was known for the serious soap opera Dallas, making her the perfect straight woman for the role. So yeah. All right. Going back in the right direction. Number 4, Ricardo Montalban, who played the villain Vincent Ludwig, refused to say a specific line in the script because he felt it was too inappropriate. True or false?
That's true, because I know what it is.
Chris is confident. I'm going to go with it.
yeah, he sounds pretty confident.
Yep, and Chris is right. Montalban opened himself up to silliest scenarios. One joke crossed the line for him, however. In the finished film, Frank says that Nordberg was at a hospital called Our Lady of the Worthless Miracle. According to director David Zucker, the name was originally Our Lady of the Never Had the Pickle. Montalban requested that the line be changed, supposedly due to his Catholic upbringing. So, yeah.
That's correct.
That is true. All right, last one. Here we go. This is how you guys can come out of the hole here. Number 5. The actress who played Queen Elizabeth II was a professional impersonator who had played the Queen in many other projects. True or false?
I mean, she
Sounds
did so
true.
little in the movie other than just be the queen. Like, I
Right.
feel like that's true. Like, it wasn't like she had a lot of lines.
Yeah.
I think it's a consensus, but Chris, do you agree?
I will go, yeah.
All right. You guys pulled out of the hole. You got that one right. So you got 3 out of 5. So yes, her name was Jeanette Charles, and for decades she was the world's most famous Queen Elizabeth II impersonator. Because of her uncanny resemblance to the monarch, she played the Queen in National Lampoon's European Vacation, Austin Powers and Goldmember, and many other films and commercials. So, all right. Good job, guys. Way to rally.
Nice.
To use a baseball term for a semi-famous baseball movie. Thanks for playing. I want to know how the listeners or viewers. I actually had somebody comment on the last episode, Nicholas, and said that the only one he got wrong was the same one you got wrong. I said it was a tough question. So,
All right. Well, I guess I feel a little better then.
yeah. So, thanks for commenting. So, all right. So after the success of Airplane, Zaz, Zucker, Abrams, and Zucker had looked to doing another spoof comedy as a movie, using the series M Squad as its basis. Initially, they could not come up with a plot, so Paramount's Michael Eisner had set them up with a 6-episode television deal despite their desire to make a movie. The series, Police Squad, was canceled at the end of the contract. Zaz continued to make films including Top Secret and Ruthless People, but still wanted to come back to spoof comedy. Working from their Police Squad concept, they found adding a romance to the story helped to establish an overall plot, and the film was quickly greenlit by Paramount. They worked backwards in writing the film, establishing the plot to assassinate the Queen among the love affair, which established the Queen visiting the United States for the baseball game and setting the rest of the film elements in place. So yeah, kind of cool. So they started with the assassination plot at the baseball game, which I understand. And Ben, I haven't watched. I remember watching the episodes like a couple of years after the movie came out.
Mhm.
But from what I understand, in the show, baseball seemed to be like a recurring theme in the show. Is that right? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit. Mm.
Okay. Yeah. And I read that somewhere. They said they made it at the baseball game because baseball seemed to be a running theme in the TV show.
Yeah,
How running can it be for 6 episodes? But,
yeah, yeah. The show also there's there's several jokes that they just lifted straight out of
Yes.
the show
yeah.
and
Yeah.
put right into the movie. I guess because they figured nobody watched the show. It got canceled immediately.
Yep, I did have that in my notes that they did like pull several jokes from the show or bits from the show as well. So, but speaking of that, we'll get into cast. A few characters from the TV show were recast for the film. O.J. Simpson replaced Peter Lupus as Norberg, which had the spelling changed to Nordberg. George Kennedy replaced Alan North as Ed Hocken. Leslie Nielsen, Ed Williams, and Tiny Ron as Al were the only main characters to stay the same. So yeah, I always want to know what Al looked like from the chest up, but his name is Tiny Ron. That was his real name. So I'm maybe not his birth name, but Tiny Ron was what he was known as. So of course we talked about Leslie Nielsen in our Airplane episode as Frank Drebin. After Leslie Nielsen's death in 2010, ESPN published an obituary for Enrico Palazzo, writing, "A true Renaissance man. Enrico Palazzo umpired the game after performing the national anthem. Palazzo was the first and only umpire to eject another umpire from a major league game. He is also believed to be the first and only umpire to use an upright vacuum cleaner to tidy up home plate." Very fitting, very fitting. So, I mean, this movie is not the movie it is without Leslie Nielsen. We can all agree on that, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
He is Frank Drebin,
Sure.
all the way. So, but I mean, Nicholas and I talked about this before, like the, keeping it straight and treating it like a serious, actor delivery is what makes it so funny. Like that, like him not being goofy or zany is what makes it work.
Yeah. To me, that's just the key of all spoof movies is the ones that I love are the ones that have the actors are playing it straight, and the ones that I don't care much for are the ones where they're like winking and, mugging for the camera, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Wink, wink, nod, nod. And every, and I think we talked about this too. Like this one's not as much. I think they do it more in the sequels, but we talked about Nicholas talked about an Airplane where there were a couple of like what we consider pop culture things that were current then that kind of go over our heads now. But this one, I think, still kind of keeps it where there's not too much that's like, of course, the baseball players, probably most people wouldn't know them now, but a lot of the jokes still work. They're not trying to be current with the jokes, like not trying to be, like I said, the more current ones are trying to work in those stuff that is current or, more current pop culture references, which I think is why I can go back and watch Naked Gun and Airplane again and again and again, because the jokes you don't rely on what was happening at the time to get the joke. There are a few, of course, but it's not that heavy.
Right.
It's hard to be the straight man too when you're the butt of the joke all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it reminds me a lot of this series of movies, and his portrayal reminds me a lot of Peter Sellers when he did the Pink Panther movies, because he was always the butt of the joke all the time, and to not realize that he is and do it so well, it's just it's art, man. It's good.
Yeah. I do like those moments where it's like he realizes that he's done something completely stupid and he has to hide it or try to move on. So that's that's always a fun character to see. Kind of like the Get Smart. I think we talked about that a little bit. They used some Get Smart stuff in there too. All right, moving on to Priscilla Presley as Jane Spencer. As we mentioned before, Presley had originally been offered a role as one of the leads of Charlie's Angels. She turned down the role because she disliked the show. She made her TV debut as co-host of Those Amazing Animals in 1980. In 1983, she had her first professional acting role on season 2 episode of The Fall Guy. She then wanted to play on a television film titled Love is Forever, starring alongside Michael Landon. After the TV film aired, Presley took on the role of Jenna Wade in the primetime soap opera Dallas. As the third actor to portray Jenna after Morgan Fairchild and Francine Tacker, she played the role for the longest of the three after the character was expanded and Presley became a series regular. 1988, after 5 years, Presley left the show. During her tenure on the series, she was also offered the role of Bond girl Stacey Sutton in A View to a Kill in 1985, but she had to decline the role due to scheduling conflicts. The role ultimately went to former Charlie's Angels star Tanya Roberts. Do you know another like did you do any research, but do you know who the original pick was for Jane Spencer role? The actress. She was a 10. It was Bo Derek. Yeah. She turned it down. So, but I like Priscilla Presley better. I'm not a big Bo Derek fan anyway. So,
yeah.
All right. Any thoughts on Priscilla Presley in the role?
She, yeah, I thought she, well, I mean, she got it. She got how to, she played it straight too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think she does have a few like moments where she's laying it on a little thicker than I think Leslie Nielsen is, but it works for the character, I think. So,
knowing that she doesn't really have much of an acting background, like having only done it for a little bit before that, and not really having any comedy, like it kind of it was impressive that she was able to do as well, especially given by this point Leslie Nielsen's chops when it comes to being able to like keep up with him.
Yeah. I thought the pairing them together was actually pretty good. Like it was, I don't think they needed a whole lot of chemistry necessarily because it's not that type of movie, but I think they played well off of each other. I think their scenes together worked for me. And really, I think I watched Dallas with my parents, but I wasn't like a huge, I knew that much about her. I just knew she was the former wife of Elvis. Like that's all I knew about her before this movie. But yeah, I thought she was funny. So, and she does make a brief cameo in the reboot, as we mentioned earlier, of the one that came out last year. So, all right. And then moving right along, the villain, Vincent Ludwig, was played by Ricardo Montalban, one of my mom's favorite actors. He portrayed Armando in the Planet of the Apes film series in the early 70s, both Escape from the Planet of the Apes in 71 and Conquest of the Planet of the Apes in 72. He also played the villain Khan, a genetically enhanced human, and guest starred in the original Star Trek television series and starred in the film Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. During the 70s and 80s, I remember this, he was a spokesman for Chrysler for 13 years, featured in their automotive commercials and advertisements, notably those in which he extolled the rich Corinthian leather used in their interior.
Which I believe is just a totally made-up term. There's no such thing as Corinthian leather.
Yeah. Truth in advertising? Really? Is there? But, and of course, I knew him most from playing Mr. Rourke on the TV series Fantasy Island from 1977 to 1984. But I had seen Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan as well. But he was actually chosen by the producers to play the villain because the Zucker brothers saw him in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. So, but he was among a long list. It didn't give us a list of who the other people played for the villains, but I thought he was perfect. I mean, he's such a good villain, Wrath of Khan, and this one, I think he's kind of chewing the scenery with this kind of mustache twirling villain that you know is a villain as soon as you see him. Like, I love his introduction where he's in the shadows and he walks into the light, like very, how it was in those old TV shows and old movies for sure. Anyone else a big Ricardo Montalban fan?
No, I mean, but as soon as you see him, you're like, oh yeah, Khan.
Did anybody else watch Fantasy Island as a kid?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah. A Love Boat and Fantasy Island, the best 2 hours of TV I remembered as a kid. So.
And Dukes of Hazzard.
And Dukes of Hazzard, yeah. I don't know if those all came on the same night. I just remember.
Yeah, no. Oh, okay. You're talking about in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember I think Love Boat was at 9, and then Fantasy Island was on at 10. And usually I would see the beginning of Fantasy Island and then probably fall asleep before the episode was over. But I remembered the intro and then when they started showing the reruns in the afternoon, I'd go back and watch them. But yeah,
maybe that's the reason I only remember the intro too.
Yeah,
and to plane and yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Mr. Rock. All right, and then we got George Kennedy as Captain Ed Hocken. He played Drag Line in Cool Hand Luke in 1967. He also received a Golden Globe. I can talk today. He also received a Golden Globe nomination for portraying Joe Petroni in Airport in 1970. According to David Zucker in the DVD commentary, the studio insisted on casting an Oscar winner in one of the major roles. This led to the casting of George Kennedy, who had been actively campaigning for the role of Ed Hawken for several months, saying he was furious at having missed the chance to spoof himself in Airplane. So he was actually up for one of the roles in Airplane, but couldn't do it because he was actually filming one of the films in the Airport series, because he had done, I think, like 4 or 5 of those films. Kennedy claimed that the Zucker brothers didn't believe in doing any scene without 40 or more takes, and that telling a joke 40 plus times in front of a camera was painful. So he did not have the best experience. He wanted to work with them, and then when he got the chance, he wasn't as happy. So
maybe it was take 1 when he delivered the "why."
yeah,
It's so perfect.
It is. That is like perfect. That is one of the perfect lines. Yeah. Why? Yeah. I'm going to test it on Ed. Oh, and he's like, what? Like he wasn't even paying attention. Like there's so many great bits in this movie. And when I was rewatching it today, I was thinking there's so many sight gags in it. And like, you know, some of the funny things are like sight gags. Like how we're going to talk about that on the podcast is going to be a pain. But anyway, we'll get there. All right, and then we'll talk about this one as quick as possible. O.J. Simpson as the Detective Nordberg. He began acting while at USC and appeared in Dragnet, an uncredited role as a potential recruit for the Los Angeles Police Department. Irony at its finest. He became a professional actor before playing professional football, appearing in the first episode of Medical Center as Cicely Tyson's husband, despite being 23 years her junior, while negotiating his contract with the Buffalo Bills. So he was in several movies, The Towering Inferno, The Cassandra Crossing, Capricorn 1. Yeah, that's all we're going to talk about. So he was in this movie. I don't want to talk too much about him. And I think one thing that I forgot about is how little he's in the movie. Like he's in the beginning. Mm-hmm. He has a few little small bits where he's kind of unconscious, and then he shows up at the end for like 30 seconds. So yeah, moving right along. Nancy Marchand as Mayor Lillian Barkley. I really didn't recognize her, but I saw that she's most famous for portraying Margaret Pynchon on Lou Grant, for which she won 4 Emmy Awards, and also Livia Soprano on The Sopranos, for which she won a Golden Globe Award. So, but I only know her as the mayor, and
I feel like she did a lot of TV in the 80s.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, I think her filmography did have a good bit of TV stuff, but yeah. The Zuckers didn't look far for the casting of Dominique, Ludwig's secretary. She was played by Charlotte Zucker, Jerry and David's mother. So I think she's got a role or a cameo in all of their movies. And then we've probably seen the guy who shouted, "It's Enrico Palazzo," at the end. That's Mark Holden, who also was the bike thief Francis Buxton in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and of course Chubby in Teen Wolf. Both of those we've covered in the last year. Nicholas, you want to talk about Weird Al Yankovic?
I mean, no more than I normally have and already have. But
I was like, now I know why Nicholas wanted to do this episode, because Weird Al's in it. Yeah, so he actually pops. Yeah, he actually pops up in all 3 Naked Gun movies. By the final insult, the last one, Yankovic cameo was expected. In the original, though, the audience didn't see it coming. Neither did the dates that Yankovic brought to the movie. Yankovic made multiple trips to the theater to watch The Naked Gun, bringing a different date each time. The comedic musician neglected to tell his dates that he was actually in the movie, so the ladies were even more caught off guard than Leslie Nielsen when they got to the scene at the airport where Weird Al steals Frank's thunder. Making the moment even more surreal, Yankovic wore the same Hawaiian shirt on his dates, matching the one he had on in the film, which is the most Weird Al thing that Weird Al could do. So
that's exactly what I was about to say. That sounds like exactly like something he would plan and do.
Yeah. So yeah, glad to see Weird Al in the movie. Of course, if you haven't listened to Nicholas and I's episode about UHF, definitely go back, because another great spoof comedy of the 80s, for sure. All right, I'll hit all these cameos here. Major League Baseball players Reggie Jackson and Jay Johnstone, as well as umpires Joe West, Doug Harvey, Hank Robinson, Ken Kaiser, and Ron Luciano have cameos. Professional announcers Kurt Gowdy, Jim Palmer, Tim McGarver, Mel Allen, Dick Enberg, and Dick Vitale appear as play-by-play commentators. Dr. Joyce Brothers also appears in a cameo role as herself, and of course, John Houseman makes an uncredited appearance as the driving instructor, which another great part. So yeah, anybody else in the cast that I didn't mention that you want to talk about? So
No, I think you got everybody I would have.
Wait, the manager of the Angels. I recognize he's the leader of the gang that robs the bank in Reservoir Dogs.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. Lawrence Tierney, I think is his name.
Okay.
But yeah, I saw him and I was like, hey, that's all.
Yeah. I thought the henchman guy, or the guy that comes in to meet with Ludwig,
Pap
when
Schmear.
he does the thing with his secretary where she's like, I must kill. Yeah. So I thought he was one of that guys, but then when they actually showed his face, I was like, nah, not the same guy. So I didn't pull up his information, but yeah. All right, let's talk about iconic scenes. I'll start in the middle. Go with Chris. So when someone says The Naked Gun from 1988, what is the first scene that pops in your head?
Well, as a singer, it's the Enrique Palazzo version of the
National Anthem.
Horrific murdering of the national anthem. Yeah, that thing is just, and it's weird because it's bad and it's funny, but it's really just horrible.
Yeah.
I think the second part for me that just, there's lots of things, of course, that make me laugh in the film, but one of the things that's very prototypical Police Squad is when he's at the waterfront and he's doing the bribing of the guy and the guy's bribing him right back for more information about, he's giving away police information for money. And he actually winds up making $20 on the deal if you follow the money pretty close.
Can you spot me 20?
That scene just is hilarious to me. So.
Yeah, that was a great bit for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, what about you? When somebody says Naked Gun, what's the first scene that you think about?
Well, if I'm being honest, it's, hey, nice beaver. That's it's the first thing that pops into my head.
Pretty iconic.
But, watching it again this afternoon, it's funny. I mean, it's just totally different things that stand out when you're watching it again for the first time in a long time. Like, I know an out of the way place with great Viking food.
Yeah.
That just made me laugh. The baseball scene at the end too is iconic.
Yeah. What about you, Nicholas?
That opening credits where you're kind of as the camera, with the police car, you're following and you're driving through everything, the siren, that, or the OJ death scene when he gets shot and then falls into the hot stove and then the wet paint and then hits his, and then it just keeps, and then, or the floating chalk line on the water.
The floating chalk line on water is hilarious. Yeah.
I mean, there's just so
the way
many.
Nordberg says, oh no, when he gets paint on his.
Yeah.
And what's a bear trap doing in that small place?
Why is there a wedding cake? You mean it's just.
Why do you need a bear trap on a boat?
Yeah. Why are they painting the door white? Yeah, so. No, I love it when he comes in, it's like, police, drop your guns. And the one henchman drops his gun and all the other ones look at him and he's like, who's pick it up? Yeah, it's it's comedy gold, man. That's just, that's what I grew up on. So.
One other I'll throw in there. When he parks his car in front of the station and it starts to take off on its own and all the airbags blow up.
Airbags.
And he's shooting at his own car and asking, anybody see the license plate? Did y'all see the driver?
Then he realizes, figures it out. And he's like,
I got to go inside.
Yeah. I love the car. All the car gags are pretty funny, but I love when they're at the airport and he backs into the luggage carriers, and then they don't show it until they get to there's a whole 5-minute sequence of them talking in the car, and then when they get to the police station, the whole line of the luggage carriers is behind them, which I thought was hilarious. Yeah, iconic scenes for me. I love the montage. Something tells me I'm into something good.
Oh,
And then I
yeah.
love that they put like the title of the song at the end, like it's a music video, which of course is very, that's something that's kind of dated now, but in the MTV generation, we were used to like seeing that at the end of a song being played. But that's one of my favorite montage. Like it's a spoof of a montage. My favorite part of that is when they clothesline the other couple when they're running in the beach in the water. I love, that's one of my favorites. And then they come out laughing if they saw Platoon, which I thought was another funny bit. But yeah, but as far like we'll move in like favorite scenes. My favorite scenes are all at the baseball game. Like the baseball game sequence, the climax of the movie, everything, every part of that works. Like from him pretending to be the Enrico Palazza or whatever, him being the umpire, calling the game and for the crowd, and then like frisking every player as they're coming in. The scene where they're passing the hot dogs and past the queen. Oh, before the queen sits down, the two guys are sitting in their seat. Like all that stuff just works. I mean, it's just like every part of that whole sequence is hilarious. I also love the scene when after they've neutralized Reggie Jackson by having somehow the dart misses him and hits the lady above him and she falls on him, which you can see all the padding on her as she's falling from the second level. But then it shows Ludwig taking his girlfriend, and at first it's like actually them, and then it cuts back to Frank, and then it goes back. It's like obviously a stunt man flipping a doll back and forth, and he's going up the steps, which I always thought was hilarious too. But yeah, but all that's good. So what about other favorite scenes or scenes you want to talk about that we can reminisce about?
And the baseball game too. Again, just like different things making me laugh. Like today, the two guys sitting in the royal suite.
Yes, yeah,
they
yeah,
have
yeah.
the shoe out.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Guys sitting there smoking.
Can you move down? Move down, please.
Yeah.
The scene with the pin and the Japanese fighting fish is also just
Yes.
fantastically done. Nielsen does just a great job with his reactions in that scene. It's really good. Really, really funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love how he's keeping his hand behind his back until he's about to leave, and then he shakes his hand just full of water on the desk. Yeah, so.
I mean, you briefly brought it up, but that driving instructor, when he commandeers the vehicle, and the driving instructor's like, okay, well, now normally we wouldn't drive this speed down the wrong, but
yeah.
Now lean your hand out the window and extend your middle finger.
Yeah. Yeah. And once again, perfect casting to get John Houseman to do that scene. So, it was perfect. So I did put down a couple of favorite lines that I thought, there's so many great lines. Like once again, I think Nicholas, I had this problem with Airplane. I had like almost a page and a half of like favorite lines, but I kept it short this time. But I like Frank's like, it's the same old story. Boy finds girl, boy loses girl. Girl finds boy, boy forgets girl. Boy remembers girl, girl dies in a tragic blimp accident over the Orange Bowl on New Year's Day. Good year? No, the worst. And then my favorites, Wilma, I promise you, whatever scum did this, not one man on this force will rest 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's go grab a bite to eat. And then my last one is Ed tells him, I ask about Norberg, he's on life support. Doctors say he's got a 50-50 chance of living, but there's only a 10% chance of that.
One of my favorites is when Ed asked him, he's talking about where Norberg died, and he said, he was out there on the water. Do you want to take a dinghy? And he says, no, I just took care of that at the press conference.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The open microphone or the live microphone at the press conference that's another iconic scene. Like just, and I think if we've ever had to wear a lapel mic for any kind of function, like that's the first, or even like on theater, like Ben, we do on the theater, when you have your mic turned on, like going to the bathroom becomes that frantic moment. Like, please tell me this is off and make sure it's, turned off on mute or whatever. You do not want to have a Frank Drebin moment. So, but yeah. And then just, oh gosh, the water, and then it like stops and then it starts back up. And then it like, the stream gets stronger as the second time, like it just gets, and oh gosh, it's so funny. Yeah. I love that scene. Another scene I love is when Frank's at when the queen is there for her banquet. He does the wand over the husband and wife. He does the wand over the wife, and then he's checking the husband, but he's getting everything out of Ed's pockets. He's got a picture of your wife, Ed. Yeah. Anybody else here got a picture of Ed's wife?
That's right. Like, who else here is seeing Ed's wife?
It's just, man, it's so good. It's so good.
Well, you know,
Right.
when one of the things, the cold open when Drebin just is randomly attacking Gorbachev, Idi Amin, and
Yeah.
Yasser Arafat,
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
like one of the probably the most dated jokes in the movie, because who other than
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
our age, who remembers any of those people? But I love the
Right.
like he has Gorbachev in the headlock, and he rubs the birthmark off, and he's like, I knew it.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that one. And I love they all have name tags or like have some kind of button on them when he knocks them out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Gaddafi has one that says, ask me how I lost 25 pounds or something like that.
Yeah. 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 It's like, I went to Beirut to have some peace and quiet, you know, to get some peace. Yeah. So
one of the other things that's fantastic about this movie is the jokes. They come so fast and furious that, you know, you wind up realizing that something you've seen, you know, I don't know, I've probably seen this movie straight through at least 20 times in my life, I think. But I saw something just this week when I, you know, looked back at it for this podcast. The scene in the meat packing facility where it has all the animal blood all over the place. There's a sign on the wall that says employees must wash their hands before using the restroom. And it's usually after using the restroom, but it's on the wall there. And I'd never noticed that before this time.
I don't think I've seen that. Yeah. I'll have to look for that one. Yeah. This movie helped me to become that like watching the background, like seeing those signs, those kind of like little subtle things, like even at the beginning when Nordberg's at the docks and like they're the different, there's like the different barrels have different names on them. Like, I don't know if they were intentional or not, but I was looking to see what's the name on there, what's the name on that one. And when they're pulling the airline luggage, like the name of the airline is like Dyn Airlines. And so I was like, it's supposed to be like Dyn Airlines, but anyway, Dyn. So I was like, you know, just those kind of little things in the background that most people don't see. And there's one that I remember seeing, but it was in one of the notes or one of the websites about when Frank and Jane are in his apartment and she's cleaning out his refrigerator. When she leaves, and it's a close-up shot of Frank's head, but the cheese on top of his refrigerator starts to move, like starts to wiggle away,
poltergeist style.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, yeah, there's like those just like behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, it was great. I have a thing about like spoiled milk because I had a bad experience with spoiled milk when I was a kid. So that scene where he's pouring the milk in the glass, just. Yeah, I'm like, ugh. I can watch blood splatter over anything, a kind of horror movie, but you show me curdled milk, and I'm like, I can't take it. All right, well, let's talk about some trivia, maybe think of some other scenes as we're getting into this. So we kind of referenced before about how, of course, it's a spoof of different, you know, movies and detective TV shows. So the Charlotte Rampling and Robert Mitchum movie Farewell, My Lovely from 1975 was where the scene of Priscilla Presley gliding down the stairs from the second floor. She's even wearing the same type of dress as in the movie. The assassination attempt on Charles de Gaulle in The Day of the Jackal from 1973 gave them the idea for the assassination plot against Queen Elizabeth II. They also reference Mad Magazine, the Dirty Harry movies, and the cop series M Squad as other cited sources of satirization. The conversation between Ricardo Montalban and Ray Burke about sensory-induced hypnosis is a direct spoof of a scene in Telephone from 1977 where Charles Bronson is offered a demonstration on drug-induced hypnosis. And then I think I mentioned earlier about the TV series Get Smart. You'll notice a few parallels to The Naked Gun. Not only do both center on a bumbling authority figure, but some jokes are suspiciously similar, like the shoe gadgets. It's hard to say how much of The Naked Gun might have been inspired by Get Smart, but at least one joke supposedly came straight from that show's co-creator, Mel Brooks. At the baseball game, Frank goes undercover as an umpire, accidentally getting struck in the head with a bat. Reportedly, Brooks himself suggested this sight gag, which made it in the movie. Funny to think that Brooks would later direct Nielsen in Dracula, Dead and Loving It. So, yeah, I'd read that in a couple places that Mel Brooks gave him that idea of getting hit with the bat. Anything to say about about Mel Brooks being a part of the process? I think Mel Brooks was kind of inspired by what the Zucker brothers had done with Airplane, because even his movies became even more like spoof parodies than what he had done before then. From at least from what I know, I'm not a Mel Brooks, aficionado. Would Spaceballs be what is if you didn't have Airplane?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think, in my opinion, Mel Brooks was better before he maybe
Went that direction.
Yeah, maybe when he was doing his own thing, the way he did it was better than when he was trying to do the Airplane style comedy. But
Yeah. So this next bit of trivia is for Nicholas. Here you go. The filmmakers, being Wisconsin natives, wanted to use the Milwaukee Brewers in the climactic baseball game, but Major League Baseball granted them the Seattle Mariners instead. Director David Zucker said, "We wanted the Brewers. We applied to the MLB, and they said you have to take the Mariners. I think we were trying to help the franchise. That was a weak franchise at the time, and must have been weaker than the Brewers."
Yeah, in '88, yeah, the Mariners would have
Not
been
that you're a big Milwaukee Brewers fan, but you.
No, I mean, in '88, well, the Angels were kind of a weak franchise in '88 as well, though they had a pretty good year in '86.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the Mariners would have been a weak franchise in '88. The Brewers wouldn't have been much better. But, they didn't really use, other than Reggie Jackson, they didn't really use any real baseball players anyway, so.
Yeah. And Reggie Jackson had actually retired the year before that, so he wasn't even a current baseball player at the time they used him. So,
yeah, I was wondering about that because I was trying to think like how deep into the 80s his career went, and it did seem like I was like, was he really still playing?
All right, so there's going to be other trivia we'll cover. I'll put in the show notes, but I thought this was interesting, and some of this stuff I kind of remember. I know you said, Chris, you saw it on Blockbuster. Does anybody remember the TV version that was on TV? Remember watching it? Maybe this will remind you. Go ahead, Ben.
You're talking about Police Squad?
No. Like
No.
when they showed the Naked Gun on TV, there's actually extended sections in the TV version that I kind of remember. So here's a little overview. The scene with Nordberg's wife at the hospital is expanded to include more dialogue and a different ending. As the group leaves the room, Frank flips a couple of switches on the wall, which he thinks are for the lights, not knowing that he has shut down Nordberg's life support system. As they walk down the hall after leaving the room, hospital staff rush by, headed for Nordberg's room. Without looking where they're headed, Frank comforts women by saying, "Just be glad you're not that guy's wife."
That does sound familiar.
Yeah. During Drebin's quote-unquote interview with the dock worker, it's also extended. With this help and giving $20, joke interplay goes on much longer, and it becomes evident that Drebin is familiar with the worker's family. So, and I felt like that scene was longer when I watched it today. So I probably recorded the TV version and watched it a lot as well. As in the theatrical version, when Drebin returns to the hospital to check on Nordberg and sees that the guard is gone, he tells a nurse to call the police. Here we get to see the nurse calling the police and trying to use the police emergency codes. Drebin's walking monologue has many new scenes, such as Drebin going into a public shower and extra dialogue to fill the time. Drebin's break-in at Ludwig's apartment contains new scenes, including trouble with a bearskin rug and difficulty opening the window. Let's see. The fight at the hot dog factory has a longer fistfight scene. The baseball game has a few modifications. Originally, we saw the Queen passing food from a vendor. Now we see her also passing the money to pay for it, which I remember. During the montage of baseball's funniest moments, there's a new shot of a family having a picnic in the outfield, and during a conference on the pitcher's mound, they discuss financial matters and not baseball, which I kind of remembered that too. So this was one thing that I did see that I caught this time, and I don't know if I caught it before, but in the original theatrical cut, Vincent Ludwig shoots Frank during the standoff at the baseball stadium, causing the umpire chest protector to deflate as a sight gag. The scene was cut in later prints, presumably out of concern that people might think the umpire chest protector could stop a bullet. This is why the chest protector is fully formed at the beginning, but later has a deflated and sagging look to it. And I was like, I kind of remember that scene, so I don't know if that was in the like when it was when the theatrical run happened, but then when it went to video, like the version I saw today, you don't see that section. So I guess they completely pulled it from that.
Yeah, I didn't see the version I saw this week either.
Yeah, but you do notice like it. Yeah, it gets deflated. Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, but seeing all that stuff from the TV version, I'm like, man, I kind of want to find a TV version now to watch, because even the Blu-ray I had, I looked for the extra scenes or like extra features, and all it had was a commentary. It didn't have any deleted scenes or extended scenes. So, I can probably find them on YouTube. I didn't have time to really pull them up that much. But yeah. So let's talk about box office. So The Naked Gun was released on December 2nd, 1988, and its opening weekend finished in first place at the box office in the United States and Canada, grossing $9.3 million. In its second weekend, it grossed $6.1 million, falling to second place behind the newly released Twins with Schwarzenegger and DeVito, which made $11.2 million. The film went on to gross $78.8 million in the United States and Canada box office and $73 million overseas for a worldwide total of $152 million. So I would say it was a successful movie for sure. So I got 2 sequels, so it had to be successful, right?
Absolutely.
Now it's time to take a look at how well this 80s flick holds up today. It's the Rewatchability Nostalgia Meter, patent pending. It's our way of measuring how enjoyable a movie is for repeat viewings, along with the waves of nostalgia it brings. Here's how it works. It's a 1 to 10 scale. Any number between 1 and 10 will do, but here are a few parameters to help you decide. At the bottom of the meter is a number 1, which means I saw it once and that was enough. Right in the middle is a number 5, which means it's a good rewatch every couple of years. And at the very top, the highly coveted number 10, it means it's highly rewatchable and full of nostalgia. So we'll go around the room. So we'll start with Chris, who's not having any computer issues at the moment. Where does The Naked Gun land for you on the rewatchability nostalgia meter?
Well, for me, I think it's certainly more about rewatchability in my mind than it is nostalgia. I know, it's a nostalgic movie in the sense of it's got a lot of history. It's got, several sequels. It had a, brief TV run. So there's all kinds of ways you could think about it. And now it's had a posthumous to itself new movie came out this year, right? Last year. And so it's got a lot of nostalgia. But for me, it's all about the fact that when I watched it, even this week, I found myself just belly laughing out loud, hard laughs, even though some of the things I know they're coming, right? That's I think that you understand that things are truly just beyond funny, that you know it's coming and it still makes you audibly just laugh out loud. And there's a lot of that in this movie. So for me, it's probably about an 8.5. I really would, I wouldn't mind watching it at any gathering, bring it on. Let's have some fun and just enjoy the humor of it.
Yeah. All right. What about you, Ben? Where does it rank for you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a fair assessment. I put it at about a 8.5, maybe even a 9.
Okay.
Just because, I'd go watch it again right now. It's just, I don't know that it makes me laugh like it used to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I still I smile all the way through it. And like I said, new things make me laugh and I notice other things, and it's a great one.
Yeah. I found myself knowing saying the lines with it a lot at the beginning because I remembered a lot of the lines as they were coming. But the parts that I really laughed out loud, actually laughed about, were at the end in the baseball. That's why the baseball sequence is my favorite, because that's the one I really laughed in those sections. Other but like you, the rest of the movie I'm just smiling because I remember I know it's funny, but it's not necessarily laugh out loud funny like it was the first time watching it. So, Nicholas, are you able to say anything?
I can see and hear you, so I don't know what I mean, can you hear me?
I guess not. We can't see you
Okay.
or hear you, Nicholas.
Okay, that's
Even though
weird.
he says he can see and hear us. I say he's messaging.
He's typing. Maybe he's
Yes.
going to type
So
his.
this is why I don't do live podcasts.
He gives it an 8.
All right, Nicholas gives it an 8. So sorry for those listening to the podcast. We're having some technical difficulties, but Nicholas is here. We just can't see or hear him, but he gave it an 8. And I'm going to round it out. I'm going to give it an 8 as well. So I think 8.5 is pretty much where we are. I think it ranks high for me nostalgia. Like I said, I remember seeing it as a kid. I remember watching it over and over again. As a preteen, 88, I was, that was going into like my middle school years. I will say, like, watching it again, I forgot how much innuendo and like sexual references are in it that I don't think I really like got that much as a kid or understood that much as a kid. But I was like, yeah, this was a real PG-13 movie of the 80s. So, but yeah, definitely. But it is one that I haven't got to rewatch a whole lot over the last couple of years, but it is one that I'm willing to watch. I'm kind of like Ben. I would watch it again tomorrow. And it's an hour and 25 minutes. It's not like it's taking up a lot of my time either. So it's a good, quick 90-minute watch.
I appreciate that so much these days, where every movie seems to think it needs to be 3 hours long.
Yeah. So, all right, before we wrap it up, just real briefly, I know and Nicholas, you can type in your response, but I think we've all seen the Reboot. We don't normally talk about reboots, but any like 30-second thoughts on the Reboot? Did you like it, not like it? It was okay.
It was okay.
Yeah.
It made me laugh at a few parts. And I thought it came pretty close in a few parts to recapturing sort of the like I've said, the right way to do this kind of parody.
Yeah.
Liam Neeson was a good choice.
Yeah.
But it kind of lost steam. It started out a lot better than I thought it ended up.
Yeah. What about you, Chris? I know Chris reached out to me because I had already seen it when he was going to watch it. So
yeah, I liked the way it tried to, at least keep the vibe of the first one. The humor was very much in the same vein, like when he first came upon that car accident and he takes all this time putting that glove on and then he just starts handling all the evidence with his non-gloved hand. Those kind of things. I mean, that's really with keeping with the framework of the first movie. I didn't like necessarily the plot of this one as much, the believability of it wasn't really there for me as much, which made it stumble a little bit. I agree toward the end of the film, but I really enjoyed the humor in it. And, I certainly hope that they do another one. He did a great job as the lead. So I'm all about, let's see it again.
Yeah. I actually went to the theater to see it. We missed the first couple of minutes. We didn't miss a whole lot to wasn't a lot to miss the plot, but basically what we missed, we saw in the trailer of the bank robbery scene, which he reveals himself. But I laughed. I enjoyed it at the theater. I rewatched it again once it came on Paramount, and I was like, it's not as much fun the second time around watching it as the first time. There were things like you said, I appreciated some of the nods to the original that they gave, trying to keep in the same vein. There was some stuff that was like a little too weird for me. It's like some of the more
the whole snowman scene was just
the
bonkers.
Snowman scene was like, what? Nicholas said he loved it. It was a worthy sequel, not as good, obviously, but still very good. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think if you haven't seen the new movie, the Reboot, I would say see it if you've liked the original. Like I said, I think they do a decent job. Of course, nothing's going to replace the original. There's only so much you can do with those kind of recycled jokes you only do so many times. I know we didn't really talk much about it, but do you remember any of the specific bits that were pulled from the TV show that were in the movie?
I don't remember anything specifically. But there was a bit that they did on the TV show that I think they should have redone in the movie, and that's every episode of the show ended with a fake freeze frame.
Yeah, I did read that. Yeah, that they didn't do that.
Where like most of the characters would freeze, but then something would be going on in the background, or one of the characters wouldn't freeze, and it was always it was really funny. And I don't know why they didn't revive that for this, because it would be great. Or maybe they did, and maybe it got cut. Maybe it just didn't work as well.
Yeah, maybe so. All right. Well, let us know, listeners, where you think The Naked Gun should rank on the Rewatchability Nostalgia Meter for you. Send us an email. Let us know on social media, or leave us a comment right here on YouTube if you're watching the show. And so we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I want to thank Ben, Chris, and Nicholas for joining. Nicholas is going to go ahead and hop since he's still having technical difficulties. But thanks, Nicholas, for being a part. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Be sure to follow and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we'd love for you to support the show by becoming a partner at buymeacoffee.com. Jump online and visit the website 80sflickflashback.com and our TeePublic store for some awesome 80s Flick Flashback merch and original designs. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Ben. Good to have you back. We'll see you again soon. I think we got some more episodes coming up with you. Same with Chris. Same with Nicholas. So thanks again, guys, for being a part.
Thank you.
I'm Tim Williams for the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. Cops and women don't mix. It's like eating a spoonful of Drano. Sure, it'll clean you out, but it'll leave you hollow inside.